Hello, and welcome to the recycling training. My name is Angelo, and I will be taking you through the class today. There will be a short quiz offered at the end of the class where you can test your knowledge. If you're here because your recycling carts were taken away for contamination, you must take the quiz to get your carts back. The quiz is our way of knowing that you took the class. I want to start off with a brief overview of all the services our division of solid waste and recycling provides. We service primarily 1 to 4 unit residential buildings. Our services include garbage, recycling, organics, large item collection, and seasonal yard waste pickup. We also offer a voucher program where you can bring your excess materials to our South Transfer Station. If you have any questions about the services we provide, please call our customer service line at 612-673-2917. Now we can get into what we're all here for, recycling. 97% of our customers have a recycling cart. To help measure the success of our recycling program, we track something called the contamination rate, which tells us the percentage of our recycling stream that is not recyclable. In 2023, we found an average of just below 12% contamination, which is up from our 9.5% in 2022, but still well below the national average of over 15% contamination. Our recycling is sent to be sorted by Eureka Recycling. We will talk a lot more about the sorting process later. Eureka also handles the marketing and sale of our recyclables. Any profits that we share with them go towards keeping the rate down for our customers. Our education process involves our crews inspecting the carts prior to dumping in the truck. If they find contamination, they will leave a tag indicating what the problem material was. If you get more than one of these tags within a 6-month period, a work order is automatically generated for your recycling carts to be removed. To get your cart back, you can either pay a $15 fee and get your cart back right away, or you can wait 3 months and ask for it back, or you can take the quiz that's offered at the end of this class. So, what makes something recyclable? Well, it must be able to be collected, so it must fit in your cart at home, and it needs to be able to be sorted. This is a major reason why many things you think are recyclable are not. And we'll go in depth on the sorting process soon. And finally, it needs to be able to be marketed, meaning it needs to be economical for someone to buy it and turn it into a new product. Recycling is collected in your blue carts at home and brought to a material recovery facility, or MRF. Our MRF is called Eureka Recycling. They use a combination of people and equipment to sort the material into about 15 different categories. Those materials then get sold and shipped to end markets where they're made into new products. We'll talk more about what those products are later in the class. We're now going to go over how the facility sorts your recycling into those different categories, because we believe understanding how this process works is the easiest way to remember whether something can be recycled. When the material arrives at the facility, it is dumped onto a large cement floor called a tip floor. It is then scooped onto a conveyor that evenly distributes the material so it can be sorted. Its first stop on the conveyor is the pre-sort house. Here there are people manually removing items that should not be there. This is called a negative sort, meaning they are subtracting or taking things out. They focus mainly on items that will damage the equipment. Plastic bags are the most common. It's important to note that workers in the pre-sort house are instructed to remove anything that is bagged. They will not open the bags. This is for worker safety as they have no way of knowing if there is something hazardous inside of the bag. So it is removed and the entire thing goes in the trash. This is why it's best not to bag your recyclables and simply dump them loose into your cart at home. Other items removed in the pre-sort house include things like scrap metal, pots and pans, clothes hangers, electronics and batteries, propane tanks, and anything that is too big to go through the sorting equipment. Unfortunately, not all contamination is caught in the pre-sort house, and plastic bags and films are the top items that sneak through. After the pre-sort house, the material goes over star screens. These separate out the two-dimensional from the three-dimensional objects, so your paper and cardboard from your containers. The paper will bounce over the top of the screen, while the containers fall through the gaps. The photo on the left here is what it looks like when they are clean, while the photo on the right is what they look like when they're covered in plastic bags and film. When plastic bags and film get on the star screens, there's no longer space for the containers to fall through. You can see there are two workers cutting out the bags. Every sorting facility in the country has to shut down at least twice a day to do this. Not only is it costly to shut down, but it's also dangerous for the employees who have to crawl into the machine and cut out the bags. The material then continues along the conveyor, where metals are sorted using magnets and plastics are sorted by computers and air. Magnetic steel cans get pulled off the conveyor by a strong industrial magnet, while your non-magnetic aluminum is sorted by something called an eddy current. It works kind of like a reverse magnet, using electromagnetic waves to push the aluminum over a barrier, separating it from the rest of the materials. This is pictured on the left. Plastics are sorted using optical sorters, pictured on the right, where the machine sends a beam of light down toward the material and then reads what bounces back, telling it what type of material it is and where it's located on the conveyor. If it is the material that optical sorter is looking for, say for example number 1 plastic, it will then send a poof of air that will send that material flying over a barrier, separating it from the rest, similar to the eddy current. People often ask us, how clean does your recycling have to be? And the answer is, we clean our recyclables for the cleanliness of your bins at home and for the people hand sorting. However, if your recycling is so dirty that it is too heavy for those poofs of air to push the material over the barrier, then it won't get sorted properly. So a quick rinse is fine to keep the smells at bay, but as long as it feels like an empty container, it will be sorted correctly and recycled. So now that you have a good understanding of how the material is sorted, let's go through each type of material. The general rule for paper is that if it's designed to come in contact with food, it cannot be recycled. Remember, for paper to be sorted correctly by the star screens, it must be flat, so make sure you're flattening your boxes. Non-recyclable paper includes wrapping paper, tissue paper, napkins, towels, and anything that goes in the freezer or is meant to come in direct contact with food. Although cartons are technically paper products, we want them to be sorted like plastic containers. This is because they require special processing due to their waxy coating, so they are baled separately from your typical cardboard and office paper, as they are shipped to different end markets. This means that you don't want to flatten them. Keep your cartons in their original three-dimensional shape so that they can be sorted correctly. The same goes for cardboard cans. Please keep them three-dimensional. Accepted metals are steel and aluminum. The sorting facility can only handle your smaller food and beverage containers. Please do not put any scrap metal in your recycling cart at home, as it is dangerous for both the humans and the equipment at the sorting facility. Aluminum foil is accepted if it's clean and smashed into a ball that is at least 3 inches round or the size of your fist. Plastics that can be recycled are numbers 1s, 2s, or 5s. These are usually your beverage, kitchen, bathroom, and laundry containers. You can check on the bottom of the container for the little chasing arrows sign with the numbers in the middle. Please make sure to leave out any bags, films, styrofoam, and anything that contain hazardous waste, usually indicated by a caution hazardous or flammable label on the container. A good rule to remember is that if anything was not meant to go down your drain at home, it should not be recycled. Remember, just because a plastic container has a Chasing Arrows recycling symbol on it does not mean it's recyclable. Only symbols with the numbers 1, 2, or 5 indicate that something is recyclable. An easy way to remember these numbers is to make the I love you sign in American Sign Language. In counting from your thumb, it's your first, second, and fifth fingers. Black plastics are the one exception here. Remember that plastics are sorted using optical beams? Well, those beams cannot see black plastic because black absorbs all light and nothing bounces back to the machine to read. So it blends in with the conveyor belt and the machine never sees it. So please leave all black plastics out of the recycling. The main thing to remember for glass is that it must be a food or beverage container, meaning no empty candles, broken drinking glasses, Pyrex, ceramics, etc. This is because these products have different melting points than your food grade glass and will cause imperfections when they're made back into new products. Mason jars are the one exception here, as they are considered food grade glass. Glass is sorted by actually being intentionally broken into very small pieces at the sorting facility. And so anything less than 3 inches in size will fall through the sorting equipment and end up with the crushed glass. Glass is sent to a secondary sorting facility in St. Paul, where the glass is sorted by color and size, and anything that is not glass goes in the trash. The most common small items that end up in the glass include batteries, caps, and shredded paper. So anything you put in your cart that's less than 3 inches is going to end up in the crushed glass, and eventually in the trash. In order to keep our glass clean, we ask that you keep your caps on your bottles. Even though plastic bottles are a different type of plastic than their caps, bottles are usually number ones while caps are usually number fives, they can still be recycled together. This is because the first step in the recycling process is to grind it up and wash it, during which the two types of plastic naturally separate, as the caps float and the bottles sink, allowing the recycler to easily separate the two different types of plastic, as shown in the video. For metal caps, you can put them inside of an empty steel can and pinch the lid shut. This ensures that the cap will make it to the magnet and get recycled along with the can. Once everything is sorted into its category, it is baled up so it can be easily transported to its end market where it's turned into new material. These bales usually don't have to travel far. 95% of our recycling stays in the Midwest, and 100% of it stays within North America. You might hear national news stories about how stuff isn't actually being recycled, but what's happening on the coast doesn't always apply to us because waste is so local. The MPCA estimates that recycling supports over 77,000 jobs in the state of Minnesota alone. So, what does your recycling actually get made into? Well, glass and aluminum can be recycled an infinite amount of times. Therefore, glass can be recycled back into glass products, and same thing with aluminum cans. Fun fact, aluminum cans are recycled and back on the shelf within 60 days of you putting them in your cart. And it only takes 5% of the amount of energy to make a recycled can that it does to make a new one. Paper can be recycled about 7 times. This is because the fiber lengths get shorter and shorter each time they are recycled. End-of-life paper recycling creates things like egg cartons, where they need to be press molded into their shape. While technology is improving to be able to recycle a plastic bottle back into a plastic bottle, most plastics cannot be recycled into equal products and are often downcycled or recycled into something else. For example, plastic bottles get turned into synthetic fibers to make clothing and carpeting. Be on the lookout for problematic packaging. There are currently no laws when it comes to what packaging producers can put on their products, so don't believe everything you see written on the packaging when it comes to recycling. And remember, when in doubt, throw it out. The easiest way to recycle correctly is to keep it simple. Stick to the things that are on your recycling guide, and remember these key items. Food, beverage, laundry, and bathroom containers. Plastics 1, 2, and 5, no black plastics. No paper that is designed for food contact. Keep all of your containers 3D and flatten your paper products so that they can be sorted correctly. Never put plastic bags in the recycling, and nothing smaller than 3 inches or bigger than a 3-gallon pail. Simple, right? If you're ever in doubt, just throw it out, unless you want to be a super recycler. Then you can find out. The internet is your friend when it comes to finding answers on recycling. We have a disposal guide that you can search for items on, and you can always email or call us with your questions. Or you can join our Facebook group. We have over 2,000 members, and people post their recycling and waste related questions daily to be answered by us. That concludes our class. If you're here to get your recycling cart back, be sure to take the quiz. That is how we know you took the class. You must get a score of at least 14 out of 20 on the quiz. You can take it as many times as you need. Once completed, you will receive an email within 3 business days indicating if you passed and when you can expect your cart to be returned. If you are not here to get your cart back and would like to take the quiz for fun, that's totally fine too. You can scan the QR code on the screen now or click the link in the description of the video to access the quiz. Thank you very much for attending our recycling training, and please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Thanks again. Bye.